All right, hi everybody. Here again. I'm actually recording this late night on Sunday. So, hiding out down in the basement because Dean's upstairs and all the little girls are sleeping and it's too dark outside. So, anyways, so I'm going to do another quick video. Again, going to be a lot of details, but I'm just going to try to give a big overview. So this book is called The Lightnings of God. Okay, and so this book kind of starts off talking about the idea of the high places. And so any of you who have ever heard stuff out of the Old Testament, right? The Old Testament talks a lot about the high places, and usually the reference to the high places is in a negative sense because you had all the people in the Old Testament like building altars and worshiping, putting idols up there and worshiping other gods, little g gods, the ones that aren't important. And so that stuff kind of used to tick God off. And so if you ever read all the stories about what would maybe come across as an angry God, it was more so because people were just making really poor decisions. But anyways, so in our current life, we don't go up to a mountaintop as our high place. But think of this as like what's highest in your life, right? So our high places are where compromise takes place, and compromise leads to lack of stability. And that's not a good place to be. You need to be stable in your life, and other people they trust people who are stable, So whatever you meditate on will take dominion over you, and it will establish a stronghold. So this book uses the term stronghold, right? I talked about this a little bit in a previous video, about your thoughts and what those turn into, right? And so what you need, though, is basically a word of God stronghold. And you need that to be in your high place. There was a little brief snippet in this book talking about religious strongholds bring division, right? And so, here's one thing kind of bugs me a lot when people are like, oh, they use the term, like, I'm not religious as in I don't believe in God or Jesus, or people say, oh, you're religious. No, the true definition of religion, right, is a set of rules, of traditions, whatever, so just understand the proper use of that. I'm a follower of Jesus, basically. I'm not religious. I don't believe there was no, Jesus didn't have a denomination. So basically, that's how denominations happen, right? Is because there was division, because there was disagreements on the rules and the traditions. And so division produces strife. So the reason this is important, right? Division produces strife, and where there's strife, the power can't flow. And so this kind of relates back to the one I just did, supply of the Spirit, right? You want to be able to have the power of the Spirit, and if you have things that are not of God, strife is not of God, right? You're cutting off the flow. Okay, so then transitioning to high places, altars, idols. Okay, so idols. What's occupying our high places? Think through what's occupying your high place. Are they things of God? Are they good things? Are they things, I guess more so think through, I think we struggle more with them being things that aren't of God, right? Just things of this world, and your idol might not be, and your struggles in your high places might not be things like, alcohol problems or lying or some other like really worse things. It could literally be things that are meant to be very innocent, but like in the just general comparison, right? In the day and age of social media, is your idol comparison and likes, right? I mean, I think we're all guilty of this. Like, you go back and you check, oh, did anybody like my stuff? I don't think that's the point. right? I mean, if you're sharing stuff on social media, it's just because you just want to share. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to see and be interested in your life. But you know what? I see a lot of people's stuff, and I'm in friends and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I don't necessarily go through and always comment or like on something that may have actually had an impact on me. Because sometimes if somebody says truly something impactful, right, it's usually touching us in an area that we need repaired. You don't necessarily want to comment back with what you don't want to put all your garbage on their social media, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, so I question, like, how many people in this world are putting that type of thing as an idol in their high place, you know? It says in 2 Kings, it talks about Josiah. He went and destroyed all the altars in the high places, and the result of that is it brought revival. And so I thought, like, okay, so if we start destroying some of the altars and the idols that don't belong in our high places, like, there's got to be that's a good quick way to revive your everyday life, right? So just, what those things are that don't need to be up there. Just start taking them down and tear them down and replace them with God and with His truth and with what He wants for your life, and who He says He is and who He says you are. So you got to pull down Satan's thought strongholds before they take root. So whatever is highest in our life receives the power. It either flows through us or it's going to destroy us. Okay. So at this point in the book, I think this is kind of where the title comes from, right? So it starts transitioning to lightning, right? So the power of God being like lightning. And so it talks a lot about here. So think of, on a tall building, what, like a lightning rod, right? So a lightning rod is put on a building to be the highest point, okay? So that it protects the building from getting destroyed by the power that comes, because lightning is very powerful, right? And so, if the things of God are the highest in our life, then we become like a lightning rod on top of a building, right? And so when God's power comes, it's going to hit us. It's going to be God's power, and it's going to flow through us, as opposed to if we have a bunch of garbage that doesn't belong up there. When the power comes, there's no lightning rod. We're just the building, and it's going to destroy us. So how do you, actually I wrote a note in here, at this point, Warren's really a pretty smart guy. And so he goes through all sorts of details about actual true science behind real lightning, and comparing that to, God's power being lightning, the power of God lightning, and how real lightning forms by energy coming down from the clouds, and then their energy coming up from the ground to meet like this, right? And comparing that to how we need to be reaching up so that when God's power comes down, there can be a connection point. And so that's something, if you want to better understand, I probably should read the book because I would never be able to re-explain that very well. And so I just want to leave with, real quick, because I want to keep this one short, how do you grow higher? And so you grow higher, you grow a taller lightning rod and a closer connection that God can reach and push his power through your intimacy with God, right? So what's intimacy, right? Think through, in a regular relationship in your life, right? Intimacy would be defined as like, how close are you? What's your connection? How strong are you bonded to somebody? And so the more that you have that intimacy and you have that closeness, you have that bonding, you have that understanding with God, the higher it takes you, and the more likely you are to be a recipient of his power coming down. And I think that's what we all want to work towards in our life, right? We want to live in his walking with his power and his supply, because that not only benefits our life, but the more power you have flowing into your life, the more you have to be able to flow to others and make a true difference, right? You can't, weak people and powerless people, they can't change the world. And our world needs people who can change it for good. So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. I don't know if I'll post this tonight. It might be Monday morning. A Monday morning start off for you guys. So anyways, hope everybody has a wonderful week, and there'll be some more coming out for me. So that's all. Bye.